news that's short, sharp and shrewd.
Are you talking about the podcast or me?
Both.
Backhanded compliment.
This is Up Late with Ben Harvey. Phew, a lot's happened since you had COVID.
A week is a long time in politics. When I went into isolation, the leader of the Liberal Party was a hardline Conservative who rose to political prominence on the back of his tough stance on border security. And the leader of the National Party was a Queenslander vehemently opposed to same-sex marriage who recently left his wife of 20 plus years. I can barely recognise the place.
Well, the coalition hadn't learned.
Hasn't learnt that.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again for no result.
Even Clive knows that. To my mind, Peter Dutton's got one character trait that elevates him well above Scott Morrison. He isn't a former advertising executive.
So where the bloody hell are you?
He's writing his memoirs, Lara.
Dutton was a cop. I reckon you two would get on all right.
I like cops. I particularly like cops who try to catch rapists, which is what Dutton did when he was part of the Queensland Sex Assault Squad. This will probably be cited by the Libs as evidence he has empathy for women. Says something about the state of the party that if you're opposed to rape, you can be considered enlightened about gender politics. But I'll tell you one thing, as someone who knows a bit about the kind of cops who work on sex assault cases, those people have far greater appreciations of the darker side of men than just about anyone else in Australia. Don't worry about gender politics in board compositions on ASX 200 companies. Anyone that tries to diminish Dutton's experience there should walk a mile in his shoes.
Why did he quit the force?
Discharged after a car crash while he was on duty. I don't know him, but everyone says he's a decent, empathetic bloke. Very few people said that about Morrison. Most leading politicians, when you get them alone, are usually pretty good people. They usually have good senses of humour and are decent, pretty caring sorts. The only leaders I can remember who didn't have that reputation, Morrison and Rudd. That won't account for anything though, because on the face of it, Dutton is everything the Australian voters didn't want. Male, pale, stale. Didn't just oppose gay marriage, he walked out on the apology to the stolen generation.
Yeah, he said he regretted that boycott.
And he points to the fact that while he wasn't keen on same-sex marriage, he did eventually vote for it in Parliament.
After the postal vote made it clear Australia was for it.
You got cynical in the last week. So if you're a glass half full kind of Liberal, you could say expectations are so low, Dutton doesn't have to do much to defy them. And don't discount this guy's chances of being Prime Minister. Albo has at best a one-seat majority. He's one party room heart attack or sex scandal from minority government and relying totally on the crossbench teals. And the rangy driving lovies who elected those teals are going to find out that being woke has a downside.
I'm so over it. Harry, get in the car now!
Because their local MP is now supporting the Australian Labor Party, which at its heart is an instrument of the trade union movement and therefore doesn't have a huge amount in common with the good burghers of Cottesloe who quite enjoy controlling the means of production.
No. What can I do now? I haven't got any of those. Nothing.
Every good Teal supporter agrees with action on climate change and a fair pay rise for those on minimum wage.
Get a $1 increase.
Unless it's your workers getting paid more, because that might mean you can no longer afford to holiday internationally.
Really? So we're going to go. Narissa.
Dutton surely won't be as divisive as Morrison.
I don't think anyone could be. And divisive politics is yesterday's politics. Albanese told me so.
People do have conflict fatigue.
Leading figures in the Labor Party quickly celebrated this new era of political civility, first with Tanya Plibersek saying Dutton would scare children because he looked like Voldemort.
She apologised for that.
As she should have. Everyone knows he looks more like Snoke from Star Wars.
I cannot be betrayed.
Can you imagine if we said that about a woman? Discuss that one, Twitter. And then we had Mark McGowan do his bid for elevating the tone of political discourse by calling Dutton dumb.
I actually don't think he's that smart. I've seen him present on things. I don't really pick up there's much there.
You don't need to have watched 7 seasons of The West Wing to know that someone who has quite recently been Mr. 91% popularity rating shouldn't engage with someone who is Mr. 19%, because that's signalling that you see your opponent as a threat.
McGowan doesn't seem to care what anyone thinks.
Why would he? He won the election for Labor. That critical 10% swing to the ALP in WA wasn't towards Anthony, it was towards Mark. And Mark knows it.
I'm the king of the world!
If ever you want evidence that the member for Rockingham is giving precisely no f***s at the moment, it's this.
You think it's a junket?
I know it's a junket.
We'll get a free room, free food, free swimming pool, free HBO, ooh, free Willy!
Going on overseas junkets is one of the few perks of being an MP, and Mark hasn't been able to do that for the past 2 years because of his own hard border. He cockblocked himself. One of his last holidays was at Preston Beach. That's like a 20-minute drive from his home in Rockingham. And when he was there, he couldn't relax because he was rescuing someone on the beach after they got stung by a stingray.
He said you should get him to the hospital straight away.
So I ran off and got my car keys, and I gave the mum, to Neil, my keys.
So good luck to him and Roger going on their Reconnect WA tour. I hope you both enjoy reconnecting with Italy.
Buongiorno.
Stressing the importance of German investment while in Berlin. Forging new cultural bonds with Indonesia. Rekindling old ones in Britain.
Pretty damn good, lads!
Bolstering important trade ties with Japan.
Your ass is happy.
And striking new diplomatic links with South Korea's economic and social elite.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
I'm Ben Harvey. If you'd like to watch Up Late with me, Ben Harvey, search for The West Australian on YouTube.